I'm going to jump right into screen view so that I can start sharing the class. Let's see, where are you, class? There you are. And so let's see from the slide. Here we go. So I'm going to just pin this because I do that every time. Let's see. And is it going to let me do it? Oh, apparently I'm already pinned. All right. Good job, Jen. Way to be ahead of yourself. All right. So this week is Can You Be a Medium? Week 6. Yay! Communicating with the other side. So we are going to cover a bunch of different aspects of how you communicate. So I'm going to lift this up just a little bit so you can see that picture. Recognizing emotions. Vitally important to being able to talk to the other side. So we are going to do a meditation and have music. So meditation and music have a strong connection to our alpha and theta brainwaves. So we're going to actually do a meditation today that helps us access those. So the next exercise will help you to expand your 6 senses. A lot of the exercises that I give you guys don't seem like they're doing much, but they really are. A lot of them are expanding our 6 senses, kind of like the happy place meditation we did a couple classes ago. That one is so vital to practice because it helps you expand your 6 senses so much, because when we take ourselves like kind of away from our physical body and essentially astral travel to our happy place is what we're doing, where that happy place meditation was a form of kind of like subtle self-hypnosis along with astral travel. So when you do things like that, you eliminate this filter, of our body that kind of blocks things up, and you allow yourself to go into those alpha and touch on those theta brain waves, which allows you to utilize your 6 senses more, your ESP. Sorry, I have an itchy nose because it's spring and spring is finally starting to spring. This exercise, it can help you to expand your abilities, which can increase experiences such as deja vu and vivid dreams. So the more you work with your alpha and theta brainwave states, the more you'll start having things like deja vu. And deja vu is like what I call like a flag. It's another one. It's kind of like those fear flag and recognizing things. We get different types of flags or signs. Deja vu is one of those. I tell people when you get deja vu and it's more consistent, a lot of times that means that you're actually on the right path, but your brain is skipping forward a little bit and is recognizing it before it happens, which is actually another one of your 6 senses. So deja vu is kind of cool. If you ever get stuck in a deja vu moment, I don't know if any of you have ever done this, but I have actually been stuck in a deja vu moment before, where you just like, it won't stop. So if you do something funny, like clap or kind of do this or do something silly that kind of breaks it up, that will actually snap you back into your reality and get you out of that deja vu. Because deja vu, like I said, is more of it's like your brain went fast forward and is predicting things like right before it happens. So, okay, we're going to jump right into an exercise. This is a fabulous exercise and it's very relaxing. So I want to make sure that you have your paper ready and a pen. And we're going to go into this exercise. We're going to do this first. So you're going to be relaxed while we do this. And I want you to just feel the music. Okay. So I want you to close your eyes and just listen. You want to feel the sounds. So start utilizing your heart to feel this. So our whole body, like I said, is kind of like our receptor. Our vehicle is our receptor. We can feel things from everywhere, but our heart is a big one, just like our brain is. So when we're going through this exercise, the goal is to connect more with the heart, connect with the feelings. And like, I know I say feel a lot, but I really want you to feel what's going on. And I want you to see how it makes you feel. What does it make you see in your imagination? Sometimes when we listen to music, I don't know if you've noticed this, but like all of a sudden, like you'll start picturing things. You'll have like a storyline going on in your head. Sometimes it shifts your mode or your mood. And so the reason behind that is because when everything is a vibration, music is also a vibration. So sometimes the music shifts our mood And sometimes we can connect with the music and actually feel what the composer was actually doing during the creation of that. So I want you to go ahead and close your eyes now and just sit back and listen to this. It's about 2 minutes long and, well, 2 to 3 minutes long. So we're just going to listen during this. And then when the music stops, then I want you to write down everything you had from your experience. Okay. All right, here we go. Take a few deep breaths too. That helps kind of relax a little. Okay. Is everybody able to hear that? Go ahead and write down your feelings now on your paper. So relaxing. Okay, so I'm going to let you keep writing that while I talk about emotions. So anything you picked up on, or if there's a storyline that maybe came to mind while you were doing that, anything along those lines, go ahead and just put them in your, you can put them in your notes or you can put them in a chat box, either way. And then we'll discuss a little bit about that at the end too, because I'm interested to see what you guys kind of picked up on for that music. And I did email you a copy of the song. So, all right, emotions. Emotions are incredibly powerful tools. And when I say powerful, they literally have power when you are connecting to empathy, intuition, or any of your sixth senses. So an emotion is an energy that we can't quite see, right? It's something that you're connecting to either empathically, intuitively, psychically. But when we're experiencing an emotion, every emotion that we're experiencing is something to recognize. It is a flag. Okay. So when you're in a session with somebody or you're around somebody and you go from having been very happy, content, peaceful, relaxed, you recognize that you're in a good place and you come in and all of a sudden you're exposed to their energy. And when you're exposed to their energy, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what just happened? My anxiety just went through the roof. Or suddenly I just feel down. Why? Because you're feeling the energy of their emotion. The way that you want to, the reason you want to start recognizing these emotions is so that you can start storing them as tools for when you're working with people. Because when you're working with people, when they're, live people, I should clarify, you want to be able to pick up on the emotions of what they're experiencing because it will help you with your sessions. When you are around other people, even if it's just in the workplace and you're not using this to go and do readings afterwards, you're just using this to expand your own personal skills, being able to read the emotions and the energy of a situation helps tremendously to show you how to handle a situation. So people that are sleepers and they go into, say, a meeting and all of a sudden, they don't understand how to read an emotion. They may just keep going through a talk and people are just like dying or falling asleep. Some of that's just body language, but a lot of it can be, are they actually interested? Do they appreciate what I'm talking about? Things along those lines. Are people getting bored and they're not showing it because they're smiling at me? I mean, it allows you to have a tool to make a change so that you can feel the situation. Again, feel, recognizing emotions, like I said, to understand is kind of like learning a new language, even though we're all pre-programmed to what an emotion is, right? Because we've had experiences and we felt this, we felt that, maybe we felt disgusted with somebody, or we felt frustrated with somebody, or we felt happy, or we just wanted to hug someone. We're pre-programmed for recognizing certain emotions, right? But when you are doing a reading or working with a client, even if you're just doing coaching, this is something that you want to work with, because even when I do coaching with people, I talk to their guides. Why? Because it helps kind of get around things. People will tell you one thing to your face and something else is going on behind the scenes. And so you can speak with their guides if you have the ability to do that connection. You can also help that person at a much better level to get through what they're experiencing if you can actually recognize and feel the emotions they are experiencing, not necessarily what they're saying. Okay, so that's why I call this, like, it's almost like learning to speak a new language. Why? Because you're translating energy. Okay, it is literally a form of translation. So, just like we learn to speak Espanol, which is a horrible pronunciation, so don't judge me for that. But when you're learning to speak Spanish, if you're not utilizing it and actually engaging with it, then it's a lot harder to learn. But we are fortunate enough that we are utilizing and engaging with emotions on a daily basis, at least most of us. So that's why I want to make sure that everybody knows how to do this so that you can actually start recognizing the emotions you're feeling and incorporate that into your new language. So to understand your new language, you must know how to feel and understand the differences between emotions, which is why, like I said, for empaths especially, you want to make sure that you can recognize your emotions versus somebody else's so that you don't start carrying all of that stuff around with you. You don't want to take on everybody else's baggage, right? Just like in the last exercise, the music triggered you to feel. It helped you like feeling the emotions of the song. Feeling those emotions is basically another form of the translation I'm talking about in your new language. Okay. The feeling of a vibration. So the nice thing about practicing with feeling music, especially music with no words, it's much easier to practice this with no words, um, is that you actually are forcing your six senses to start activating. You're forcing yourself to connect with the energy of the frequencies coming from the song. And so it's very interesting. And sometimes let yourself play with it. Let that music take you on an adventure. Let it bring you to another space, closing your eyes and just going with it and relaxing the meat suit, the vehicle. Relax your body so that you can, kind of like when we did the happy place meditation, so that you can get away from yourself and go somewhere else. It's like a mini vacay. Okay. So now what I'd like you to do is to please pull out or open your copy of the list. I emailed the Recognizing Emotion list to you. I posted it on Facebook. It's posted in the membership section of the class. So if you don't have it, if you wouldn't mind grabbing that really quick. Like apparently I'm reminding myself a PDF copy is attached to the class in the membership, plus it's posted in Facebook. So for those of you tracking the tools in your toolbox, feeling your emotions is a tool. Why? Because every emotion becomes a tool that goes into that toolbox too. Everything that you learn to recognize will help you grow and expand your abilities. Okay, so hopefully everybody has the list. I'd like you to, now we have an exercise for this, but we're not going to go too deep into this exercise because I really want most of you to go into a space where you can have some time to actually sit back and recognize what you're working on. So I did give you a list, like I said, so you can pull that out. It's like a cheat sheet. The first few on the list are actually kind of the main core emotions that everybody in like psychology recognizes as core emotions, and the rest of them supposedly fall underneath them. I truly believe that every emotion has its own vibration. So when you are working with emotions, say you're working with the term happy, okay? If I say focus on the word happy, what do you recognize about how you feel with that? Okay. I want you to actually think, what does that make me feel energetically? The word happy. Okay. If you're struggling to link to a word to connect to that energy, link the word to a memory. Maybe something that you go to, maybe when I say the word happy, it brings up a memory and you go, oh, this is when I was so happy. That is what I call a pocket memory. And so the reason I call it a pocket memory is because you can access that at any time. I tell people, like, put it in your pocket, so that you can take that memory back out when you need to connect to that energy. Because something as simple as a word can have an absolutely huge impact. Somebody comes up to you and is grumbly. I mean, just think about this as an example. If somebody comes up to you and they are talking just negative, 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 those words all have a vibration. So that vibration is spitting out an energy to you that is like very negative. And a lot of times we kind of want to pull back or we want to withdraw from those situations. It's because our body and our intuition is going, red flag, cut this off, and if you can't flip it back around, so maybe you can help guide that person maybe into a more positive space with what they're saying. If you can't, sometimes you need to recognize how your energy is feeling so that you can withdraw from that situation. Sometimes there's these people, we call them psychic vampires, and they will talk and talk and talk to you about all the negative things that are going on, and they don't even realize they're doing it. Most people that are psychic vampires have no idea that they actually are doing that. They just know that it makes them feel better to spit these things out, and hopefully this person that's responding is going to lift them, tell them something positive. But what they don't realize is they're draining the energy from the other person that's helping them. And so when you have connections to emotions and the energy that's coming off of them, if you can feel that, then you can recognize it, and you can either know how to correct the situation, or you can move forward. Now, if you're working with a client, however, you don't want to just back away, right? A client or a sitter, you want to be able to feel those emotions and share them with them. Okay, so like I said, just for this exercise, I want you to focus on the word happy. It's the easiest one in the language, and it's the highest vibration. So think about the word happy. Go ahead and write that down. And then I want you to write down your impressions next to the word. What does happy make you feel? Okay, so I'll let you go ahead and do that for a minute. I'm going to grab a sip of my coffee. Coffee makes me happy. Okay, so now with the list that I did provide you guys, this is like kind of like homework. And like I said, sent it out in 15 different ways. So you should have a copy of this. There's room next to each word for you to write down your notes so that you can write down your impressions of what it makes you feel. And remember, if you're not 100% sure of the actual feeling that you're getting from it, connect to that memory. Okay, that will help with it. Okay, now we're going to jump into some classic tools that people use for communicating with the other side. Let me tell you about Ouija boards, or Ouija boards. No, I'm just joking. Ouija boards, spirit boards, angel boards, every kind of board you can possibly imagine. They are basically geared toward the exact same cause and effect. Okay. So in my world, I tell my students never, ever, ever, never, ever, ever use a Ouija board to contact the other side. You might as well just open a portal for anything that wants to come in. I just want to scream, danger, Will Robinson. It is not a healthy way to communicate with the other side. Is it easy? Oh yeah, it's just like a game. Just ask Parker Brothers. You do not want to utilize these as a game. It's not a game. Nasty things can come through. I cannot tell you how many times I have worked with people that didn't know what was going to come out of their Ouija board because they were like, I didn't know. And they just have horror story after horror story about activity in their house and the horror dreams and being attacked. And generally it's all the core cause is that Ouija board, and they're hard to get rid of, very difficult to get rid of. So if you do need to get rid of a Ouija board, you're welcome to message me and I can walk you through the process, but hopefully you just say no to them. They are the epitome of asking for negative entities to come through. So like I said, they are nothing but portals. And by using them, they allow anything to come through. They may look cool, but they're dangerous. Using them can cause attachments and negative hauntings. Attachments are bad, just in case you're wondering. I didn't define it in the slideshow, so I'm just going to tell you, sometimes we get these things called energetic attachments. When you're using Ouija boards, things love to try to attach to your energy. Why? Because they will siphon your energy. They will grow stronger. You will grow weaker. You will become their new buffet. Just say no to Ouija boards. Okay. If you have one, the only true way to dispose of it or get rid of it is to take it out to a remote area and burn, baby, burn. You want it, you have to burn it, turn it to ash, turn it to dust, let it absorb back into the ground, let the earth take care of it. Okay. So, moral of the story, just say no to Ouija boards or spirit boards or angel boards, any of those boards. Even I fell for the whole angel board thing. I was younger, I was in my 20s, and Doreen Virtue came out with a angel board. And I was like, oh, it's angels, so it's got to be good. There's even a psychic circle board that came out. I thought, how cool, these must be safe. Because they even give you instructions. Here's how to protect yourself before you use this, right? Nope, you're still using a Ouija board. So like I said, anything that's a board like that, even pendulum boards, I'm a little sketchy on, but we'll leave that alone for now. Now we're going to go into scrying. Okay. And like I said, if you have questions, make sure and write them down. I know I'm going to kind of bounce through these things, but I do have a lot to cover today. And so let's go into scrying. It's a form of divination. Who hasn't heard of people using crystal balls? I use one, it's little, but I only use it as a hand massager and energy amplifier for the courts. So I do not use it for scrying. The practice of looking into, so scrying is the practice of looking into a suitable medium, is what they call it, like a crystal ball, a mirror, water, oil, etc., in the hope of detecting significant messages or visions. Just in case you aren't familiar with the term divination, it means the practice of seeking knowledge of the future or the unknown by supernatural means. A lot of people will use scrying and divination tools to be able to communicate with the other side. There are many forms of scrying, but the most popular are done by either using a mirror, a black mirror, or a bowl full of water. It's called water scrying. So mirrors, mirror, mirror on the wall. Who should you not use? That. We'll go back to the mirrors in just a second. So crystal balls, most people think of a gypsy when you think of a crystal ball. A lot of people, if you're planning on scrying and doing readings with a crystal ball, plan on playing the part. It's something that I'd suggest more people do in private if you're going to use a crystal ball. The only reason most people don't use it anymore is mostly for the stigma. And but all it does is try to trigger your third eye. It helps like with connecting to midbrain because it is crystal. If you're using a real crystal has like different, flaws within them. They call them flaws. I think that they're awesome little, inclusions. But if you're going to use a crystal ball, I don't know if I'd suggest using it with a client unless you're really trying to play the part. Honestly, I have heard nearly as many horror stories about scrying as I have about Ouija boards. Most of that is geared towards the mirrors and like water scrying, things along those lines. So crystal balls are kind of harmless most of the time because realistically, we just like them because they're pretty. At least that's my excuse for having. So I would just consider steering clear, especially of the mirror scrying or the water scrying. It tends to open up portals also, just like Ouija boards do, for unexpected visitors and hair-raising experiences that don't always end when you finish scrying. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an example. So I do remote work a lot. I just use remote viewing to access spirits in different locations. Why? Because time space is really relative, but again, not going there right this moment. So I was working with a client way out of town by doing remote work. And I talked to a spirit that was actually haunting the house. It was an old house. It was 100 and something years old. So there was a spirit that was there. She was actually pretty cool. I mean, she was a little mischievous, but she's like, I like to let him know I'm there. But she was actually a pretty nice person. She did, however, tell me that there was another entity that was in the house that was haunting and tormenting this poor woman that lived there. This thing had scratched her. It had caused bruises. She literally thought her husband was bruising her in the middle of the night. And so it would cause a rift between the two of them. It was a pretty gnarly situation. So I asked the spirit to tell me what and where and how and why and all of those questions about what was actually causing this, the bad side of this haunting. Well, apparently they had found a mirror out in, it was a farmhouse. So they found it out in the shed, one of those big barn areas that had been covered up. They thought the mirror was cool, so they brought it in the house. They had just moved into this house a few months before. They had brought this mirror into the house and they put it in their daughter's room. Well, the spirit told me, she's like, they brought a mirror in the house that does not belong in here. They're like, she's like, they put it in the child's room. And I was like, oh my goodness. So this thing, this mirror must have been used for something in the past that opened a portal in this mirror, because this little negative entity came out of this mirror and was actually causing havoc and just tormenting this poor woman. So I had to I had to literally wrap this thing and shrink it down so that I could get rid of it. I mean, there's a whole process to go through getting rid of like different types of entities. This is one of those situations where I had to remotely do this. And then I had to tell them, get the mirror out of the house immediately, because even the ghost didn't like whatever this entity was that was haunting. She's like, no, I don't even like to be around it. So she went, so the people that have the house went and took the mirror out. They didn't want to touch it after that. So they covered it up and then they removed it and they put it back in the barn soon as they did that, house was fine. Granted, I did kind of do an evacuation like of the entity, but still they didn't have any haunting problems after that. So the mirror is my example on that one, because mirrors can just do crazy things. Black mirrors, especially. I mean, you just don't know what you're going to see. Like I said, it's like opening a portal. So I know it's tempting because it's easy. Easy is not always the right way to go. So, but then there's things like pendulums. All right, who brought their pendulum? I did. Here's my pendulum. See if I can show it to you guys. Smoky quartz. Love this thing. I've had it for years and years and years. Okay, what is a pendulum? It's a weighted object at the end of a string, chain, cord, or line. Reasons to use a pendulum. The most common is communicating with your spirit through your guides or higher self by asking questions. Most people use a pendulum to get yes, no answers to things. Pendulums can actually help guide you to, you can use them like if it swings in a certain direction to help you find things in your house too. But I didn't actually put this in there, so that's why I'm sharing it. All right, so types of pendulums. I have seen every kind of pendulum you can think of. Different kinds of pendulums can consist of, I mean, I know people that have, you know, like my pendant. I could take my necklace off and literally use my necklace and my pendant as a pendulum. You don't have to have a fancy store-bought created pendulum to make something work. You can literally tie a string to a fishing lure and use it as a pendulum. And I have seen that done. So it was a pretty fishing lure, but still, nevertheless. A lot of people will prefer some type of stone pendulum on a line, string or cord, or metal chain. Why? The stone on a metal chain. The reason is because the metal actually helps conduct the energy. And the stone, like I use a smoky quartz because smoky quartz keeps negativity away. And quartz itself generates more energy. So why do I use a smoky quartz on a chain that's made of metal? Because it conducts my energy better and it helps me to keep negative energies away from it. Okay. Now, anytime you do something like this, you always want to make sure that you do your safety first. You want to do world's fastest meditation so that you're nice and clear. You also want to do clear your space. And then, it never hurts to activate your midbrain by doing the left and right eye movement exercise. That is just very helpful because you are working with your sixth senses to use this too, even though it seems like it's not working with that. You're working with your spirit guides and your higher self, and that's what the goal is, okay, with a pendulum. There's many ways to use one. You can use them to get answers from your higher self or guides. You can check energy on people. A lot of energy workers will actually go over someone's body to see if something resonates with them, and the pendulum can help them locate things. Or you can help guide, they can help guide you for a multitude of reasons. Like I said, like finding things in a house. I mean, it's amazing. You can use your pendulum. It's like, oh, go this way. And you're like, okay. So some people use pendulum mats for answers. Again, I find that not much different than using a Ouija board. At least you are holding your pendulum, so it's your energy. But there's a real basic ways to use pendulums where you can just get yes and no answers. Okay. So, and then if your pendulum doesn't swing or if it just kind of vibrates, a lot of times it's because you're not supposed to know the answer yet. People get really frustrated with that, but sometimes you have to have a little faith in how the universe works, Some use them for finding directions, and the most common use is to get answers to simple yes and no questions. I did like that gal. She had like the chakra stones on it. That was kind of cool. Okay, so when using a pendulum, always use your safety first skills. Boy, I sound like a broken record, don't I? World's fastest meditation and white light clearing. I like to hold my pendulum while I'm doing that because I feel like the energy goes through it too while I'm doing everything. So I suggest resting your elbow. So I'm going to kind of show you this. Let me see if I can lower this a little bit. So I like to rest my elbow on a solid surface. Okay, stable surface, solid surface. Wow, that's kind of an interesting shot. Let's see here. So I've got that where my elbow is resting, okay? And then I personally I put the string in my hand and then I wrap it around my finger and then I pinch it like this. Let's see if I can show you. I pinch the string because I like to make sure that I'm, that it's nice and stable. Okay. Then kind of hold your arm at an angle just as long as it's stable. Okay. Like I said, with the pendulum cord around one finger, I didn't even know that. I didn't even remember that I typed that. That's funny. Okay. Start off with simple yes and no questions. I'm going to point this down just a little bit so you can see mine. There we go. Okay. Recognize which direction is yes and which direction is no. Yes, for example, is moving in a circle. Okay. So it's moving in a circle. Can you see that? Of course, I'm forcing this, so don't judge me. Where no may be back and forth. A lot of times it's easier to recognize no for back and forth because when we shake our head no, we go back and forth. Okay. When we nod yes, it seems to go into, if you actually nod yes and hold your pendulum, it will go in a circle. So that's how my guide showed me. So everybody kind of has to, kind of figure out which way works best for them, but that's just at least an example that kind of helps get you going. So you want to hold as still as possible while asking your questions. Okay, I'm going to go back up here now. You want to hold as still as possible because you don't want to be shaking. Otherwise, you're influencing it. You want to just hold this as still as possible. Okay. So using a pendulum is not the same as using a Ouija board, as you're using your own energy, your guides, and your higher self. You're connecting with your own energy to get this. So is a guide maybe working through you? Maybe they are. But if you can hold still as much as possible, then it starts swinging a certain direction when you ask a question, that'll answer. I always tell people to make sure you ask one question at a time, just one. Why? Because if you ask, yes, no questions, you're going to confuse the heck out of your pendulum. So ask a question, get your answer, stop, clear. Ask a question, get your answer, stop, clear. And make sure you write them down, because sometimes if you are connecting with your higher self, sometimes the memory centers don't like to listen to that, so they won't hold on to it. Okay. So if you have any more questions about pendulums, go ahead and write them down. I'm going to go ahead and set mine down over here. And next we're going on to dowsing rods. Have you ever heard of water witching? A lot of people have heard of water witching, so I'm just curious who has and who hasn't. All right, see if I can move down here. Go readjust just for a second. There we go. Dowsing is a type of divination employed in attempts to locate the object or intention from the dowser. So if you see the gal that's holding the stick there, a lot of people for centuries have used sticks. Why? Because they're from the earth. You just get a Y-shaped stick and off you go, and you listen to that vibration, you follow the vibration of it. Dowsing rods are a tool more commonly used by dowsers to find the object of intention. So a lot of times if you've lost something, you can use a dowsing rod. Okay. There are different types of dowsing rods. They're not just the V-shaped one anymore, but I did, just for fun, bring in a stick to use as an example because my son found it. We went out of town and he brought his friend with him. And when they met up with me, they came in with all of their garb for staying the night. And they came in with this stick. Okay. So I'm going to show it kind of like, this is the stick they came in with. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. I'm going to be teaching a class on things like that next week. So I kept the stick, but it was hilarious because they had nicknamed it. They nicknamed it Sticky. And I was like, oh, that's so cute, until they told me they nicknamed it Brown Sticky. I was like, Brown Sticky? I'm like, I don't know about you, but I know what that brings to mind. So we're going to just cut this down to Sticky, the dowsing rod. So anyways, you would use this kind of at an angle like this and allow it to kind of show you which direction to go. This one, Brown Sticky, has an extra stick. It's his stand. But just like the gal is using in the picture, you would be able to utilize that energy. Now, some people have used dowsing rods to locate everything from water. There's miners that will actually use dowsing rods to locate the mineral that they're looking for, or gems or metals. Or they'll employ dowsers to help them find them. So they would often use a Y-shaped stick, show example, or more properly, or more popularly used now, 2 L-shaped sticks. Okay, so a lot of people will use 2 of them now. And it's just like a copper rod that goes out like this. So basic copper rod dowsing rods do not cost very much. They're kind of fun. And they kind of swirl. So you just kind of hold it. And it's very similar to the concept of a pendulum, where you can hold the object and then ask for directions from your guides. Okay. They even have fancy ones now. They have some that light up and do all sorts of tricks. Some people will actually rig their dowsing rods to sit there so that they're in a stand, and then they'll just touch the top of them and watch them move. It's pretty crazy. A lot of people, like ghost hunters, will actually use them to locate spirits. See, very popular tool for ghost hunting and spirit communication. You can ask yes, no questions to spirits by holding dowsing rods and just crisscross is generally, like when they crisscross like this, is usually when they mean yes. And, or if they're going direction, they go to the right, go to the left, or they'll spread wide open if they mean no. Now that's just my interpretation of them. Again, everybody kind of forms their own. Due to the dowser needing to hold the rods, I feel that these are safer tool to use for communication also, just because, again, it's utilizing your own energy or from your guides. If you have any questions about dowsing rods, please write them down. Don't forget to drink your water while we're going through class. All right, palm reading. Who doesn't love good old-fashioned palm reading? The definition is AKA palmistry, to evaluate a person's character and aspects of their life by studying the palm of their hand. Some people believe that you hold everything you ever wanted to know about your fate, love life, and personality in the palm of your hand. I have still not been able to decipher mine. Mine's all over the place. Apparently, I'm all messed up. My experience with palm reading is that the person can get a generic explanation for you from the reading, just like if they were holding a book and they'd memorized it. Okay. So palm reading a lot of times is memorizing everything on the hand so that you know what to read. I'm not a big fan of that, just because I'm not a big fan of generic readings. I'm a big fan of intuitively guided and psychically guided readings. So that's my personal opinion, but it is fun. I have had a palm reading before. It goes by reading the lines on your hand. Some of them are more dominant lines and some of them are the tinier ones. If someone is truly using their abilities, then they may be able to tap into your energy to read more about you. Like when, kind of like when, oh, I can't remember who had asked this question, but somebody said, if I touch the person, if I hold their hand, will I get more information? Of course you will, because you'll be able to tap into their energy easier. It's kind of like cheating, but I don't think that's really cheating, because you have to ask permission first anyways. But if you're connecting with their energy like that, it's similar to somebody like as a palm reader, they're going to hold your hand. Now they may be gifted, so they may be able to actually share more intuitive information or more messages that they receive than just reading the lines, but reading the lines kind of fills in the blanks, gives them a guide. It's kind of like any divination tool that you use is essentially a form of helping you to utilize your skills and your intuition to enhance a session. Okay. The goal is to not have to use those. But like I was saying, if someone's truly using their psychic abilities, then they may be able to tap into your energy to read more about you, but it wouldn't be from your hand. It would be from their abilities. I compare palm reading to cold reading. Cold readings are when someone tells you a very broad and generic form of information that could relate to just about anyone, versus the way that true psychics and mediums read, where they provide undeniable evidence to their subject, sitter, client, whatever you want to call that. Okay. So I'm not a fan of cold readings, and we'll go back into this. We'll touch on this later on in the next few classes. But if somebody's reading for you and it's like they say, oh, I see that you've had, relationship problems in the past, and then they changed. It's the most generic thing I've ever heard. It almost makes me giggle when I hear people read like that, because I'm like, would you like a reading instead? Because I can actually read you. It's just not a way of doing it, because it means that they're not comfortable with their own abilities, or maybe they haven't tapped into them yet, and that's one of those charlatan things they talk about in the Bible. Anyways, we're not going there. Tea leaves and runes. These are fun. People have been doing these forever. Runes are fun. Fun Celtic-y shapes that I've never actually been able to decipher, so I don't actually use them myself. I've had a tea leaf reading and a rune reading before, both of which were fascinating. Why? Because those people were using their intuitive skills. They use this as a way to assist them in tuning into their abilities, okay? To read for their clients is basically what that is. It's the methods basically assist the reader to focus on their intuitive skills to read for their client. There are outlined examples that have been created over time to explain how certain tea leaves or rune patterns may define the outcome for the client or sitter, but that requires a lot of studying and a lot of focus, and the tea leaves can do just about anything. Honestly, utilize your intuition. It's just easier and it's more fun. My great grandmother was a tea leaf reader, actually, my psychic Swedish great grandmother. My family has commented about her amazing abilities for a long time to predict things like weather and events very accurately. She was like a mini version of Nostradamus. She could predict all sorts of things. So it was pretty fascinating. I obviously didn't know her. The only time I actually met her is when she was floating at the end of the bed that I had when I was a child. That was really interesting way to meet your great grandmother. Okay, tea leaves and runes continued. I believe that she used tea to help her clients to focus, not that she really needed a tool for divination. Sometimes these tools actually are meant more to help focus your client and help them center their energy than it is to even help you. I realized that when I was using tarot cards, that was a lot of what was going on. I didn't really need the tarot cards anymore, but my clients would be more focused. So that was, yeah, it's fun. It's like a game. When you realize how accessible your abilities are, you should not need any of these physical aids to read for people. Example, unless a reader has psychic abilities and a gift for communication, they will not be able to dictate the messages that a guide or a spirit may be trying to share from the other side. So again, I'm big on evidential readings and mediumship. So here's a fun section. Hey, ghost hunting tools. I've worked with a lot of ghost hunters. My favorite is Spokane Paranormal Investigation Group. They are, as it sounds, over in Spokane. They also have a Facebook page. They have lots of fun stories on there. I suggest looking at that if you get a chance. Again, that's Spokane Paranormal Investigation Group. Shameless plug for them. And no, they're not paying me. I just love them. There are numerous ghost hunting tools that are out there now due to the growing interest in the area. These are tools that are of the physical, scientific nature that can allow ghosts or spirits from the other side to communicate with us. So since we're all energy, these pieces of equipment, guess what? They work off of energy. So some pieces of equipment use lights to show active communication, where others use sounds. And some of them even track the temperature changes, because when a spirit's in the room, it will suck the heat out of the room, because heat is a form of energy, which is why I always have a fireplace going whenever I work with people on readings. Help them help you. More energy is good. Okay, more ghost hunting tools. I will go through a brief list, and I will go through this quick because I know we're running out of time, of pieces that I recommend for starter equipment if you choose to utilize these. The thing that's nice about these is it is kind of fun to let your logical side of your brain actually see something work. It's fun to see a spirit that is communicating not just to you, but actually to somebody else in the room, which kind of gives you a little bit more, you have that self-faith. It builds up that lack of doubt. It kind of releases those doubts when you can actually show somebody that you're talking to someone. Okay, so here's some of the equipment. Good old-fashioned twistable mag flashlights. I'm going to use my little cursor to show you these. They're up at the right-hand corner of the photo, okay? The twistable mag lights. They're great. You get them twisted just to a point where they kind of are off but on, but if you shake it, it doesn't turn on. You set it down, and then you talk to the spirit and ask them yes, no questions. They can turn it on for yes and off, All right, next piece of equipment, electromagnetic field detectors, or EMF detectors. That's this guy right here in the black with the pretty rainbow colors. They'll light up the lights depending on the question that you ask. And the same thing, a lot of these are just yes, no, but they still work great, right? Then you have a digital electronic voice phenomenon recorder. That's a mouthful, isn't it? or EVP recorder. That's much easier. So I have two examples on here. I have one right here. This is kind of similar to an older one that I use. It's an Olympus, I believe. And it's, if it records, it records. However, there is another one that's called the DR60. For any of you ghost hunting fans out there, DR60s are great. They absolutely have the worst version of a recording. However, they only record when someone's talking. So if the ghost responds to you, you'll get a recording. It may be a little hard to understand, but at least you'll get one. So it's kind of like an acknowledgement that they're talking to you. Sometimes you can hear them clearly on there too. So DR60s are fantastic, but very hard to get your hands on. Okay, so then you have like motion sensors. Okay, some of the equipment have little laser beams that if they cross the laser beam, then it'll go off. Okay, I like these. My friend Kika uses these. They're like these little balls. They're probably cat toys, to be honest. But if they move, or if something moves around them, or if something tries to move them, then the lights will go off. It's really cute, and I like the colors. So very inexpensive and fun. Then there is the Paraforce Paranormal Music Box. I love this thing. Bottom right-hand corner. If something is communicating with you, it will light up this little light right here, and then it will actually play a music box. And so it's fun. It plays music. They get to interact with you. You can't hear them talk, but you can sure see them communicating. So those are on the little bit more expensive side, but well worth it. That's all I have to say about that. There are thousands of products that you can go through and work with, but I'm only covering a few of these for the class, obviously, because this class is much longer than I was anticipating. If you choose to work with ghost hunting or seeking equipment, I suggest that you have a video camera on hand to document your discoveries. So it's nice to have a video camera because inevitably you'll be like, dang it, I wish I had that on film, right? These are ways of finding physical proof of spirits. Again, it's just fun sometimes. Just remember to be respectful. Don't be like that guy on Ghost Adventures where he just torments the spirits to try to get them to communicate. We work from an ethical side. We work from the lighter side. So remember, these people, the spirits that you're communicating with, they're just people too. If you're rude to them, they're going to be rude back. If you're nice to them, real good chance they're going to be nice back. Okay. Okay. However, I have worked with a few ghost hunters that have told me that having a medium on hand is one of their most valuable tools for locating and communicating with the spirits. So what's nice about ghost hunting when you have a medium on hand is they can tell you basically, here's a ghost over in this corner. They can set their equipment up there. They can document it. They can get more proof. And then it's nice for you too, because then you have documented proof that you actually were talking to something instead of feeling like you're crazy. Okay, let's see how fast I can get through some of these things real quick. How close are we? And we're over. Sorry about that. Little close. Automatic writing, I still want to cover this though, is a form of channeling. It is a safer form of channeling. Why? Because you're utilizing your very cleared, very protected body you're just using the pen as your tool, kind of like you would a pendulum. Okay. So all you're doing is channeling your guides, just like you would if you're doing a reading. Okay. No different. Just some people find that it's easier to write it out. Okay. So let's see here. Let's see if my computer wants to work. It is also called psychography. Psychography. I can English. It is a claimed psychic ability allowing a person to produce written words without consciously writing them. Practitioners engage in automatic writing by holding a writing instrument and allowing guides or spirits to manipulate the practitioner's hand. Just like I was saying, it's the hand, the pencil. A lot of people will do this because it helps them while they're actually doing their sessions. You're connecting to the energy of the spirit or the guide. You're not taking this into your body. They're just connecting to your energy. Does that make sense? How many of you have tried this before? If you're working in your way of doing a session where you're using intuition, you do your relaxation technique, you world's fastest meditation, clear your space, left, right eye movement, then you should be in a good position to be able to practice automatic writing if you want to try it. Okay, because you'll be protected. Tarot and oracle cards. Okay, we're going to burn through this real quick. Tarot card reading is a form of divination also, whereby practitioners use tarot cards to attempt to gain insight into the past, present, or future. I have my deck that I've had for 20 something years right here, little dragons. Okay, brought those to show you. The client or sitter comes up with a question, then either the client or the reader draws cards for the reader to interpret them. This is how people say that it's done. I prefer to just, hold my cards. I let people shuffle them. I don't care if they touch them. I just prefer to be the one that lays them out. What are oracle cards? Oracle cards are defined as a set of divinatory cards that are used for personal exploration and insight. But that sounds a lot like tarot, that's because they're very similar, very, very similar. Tarot cards have a traditional structure of 78 cards. So if it's called a tarot deck, it generally has 78 cards and common meanings, like a common structure, where oracle cards can have any content or any number of cards. So oracle cards, I think, are more on the artistic side. I do want to warn you, safety first, safety first, safety first. Of course, I said broken record, I will be one. Remember, anytime that you use any of the forms of divination tools, you always want to practice your world's fastest meditation and white light clearing first. Also, please be cautious with using any of them right now. We're still going through the class. We will be covering different types of spirits and entities. It's not in week 8, it's in week 9. So that's a typo, I apologize, which can come through when using divination tools. Okay. So remember, knowledge is power. So please know that understanding the different types of entities and spirits that may come through will help you to know how to handle them. You really, really, really want to know all of these things. I mean, I really do go through the structure for a reason. This whole class is invaluable. By the time you get to the end, then you will be in a really great space to be able to do a session for someone. But I do beg of you that if you're going to do anything, maybe just pull some cards and see if your intuition connects with them, or use your pendulum, things like that. You can even practice the automatic writing. Protect yourself, protect yourself. Please be careful. I will teach you how to use tarot and oracle cards as an intuitive tool next week. So make sure that if you have tarot cards or oracle cards, it does not matter which kind of cards you have, because the way I teach works with both. So make sure that you have a deck of either tarot or oracle cards ready for next week's class. Practice the musical meditation with different songs. I did email you a copy of, or at least the live class. I have emailed to you a copy of the song because of the glitch that we had in the middle of class today. So feel free to use that if you want to practice with it. Otherwise, any kind of classical music is great for utilizing to practice that meditation. Okay. Beethoven, woo, he's got some crazy stuff in there. So work on the feeling your emotions exercise and truly connect with each emotion. I don't give homework for no reason. I really implore you to do the homework, because the next class will lead to the next class, will lead to the next class. These are all things that you want to be able to do before we go into the next class. So feeling those emotions, run through the list, make your notes, practice, practice, practice. And next week, 7, like I said, is tarot and oracle as an intuitive tool. Next week, I'll teach you how to use those. So make sure that you have that deck. Plus, at the end of class, we will actually start touching on mediumship, we're really getting there, guys. We're really getting there. So I will switch out of this screen and see if there's any questions. And otherwise, we'll see you next week. Let's see. And how do I close the stop share? There we go. Okay. All right. Hi, guys. Does anybody have any questions? I know we're running over for time. Yes, Lori, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I have angel cards. Will those work?
Absolutely.
Okay. That was it.
Yes, absolutely. So you can use angel cards, you can use oracle cards, every single kind of, so I look at any kind of card. See, I love these guys. They're so pretty. You can use any kind of card as a divination tool.
Okay.
because the way that I teach is through using it through intuitive skills, not through the actual book meaning of the cards. The book gets chucked out the door with this class, okay? The only thing that I request is that hopefully you guys are using a deck that has little to no writing on it. Like this one. That's actually a horrible example. Let's use something happy. Happy, happy, happy. Oh, this guy's lovely. All right, let's use this one. So if you look at this card, 10 of Cups, I know the light's reflecting on it, but all it says at the bottom is 10 of Cups. It doesn't say power card or, ascension card or you're going to find the love of your life card.
Yeah,
So
mine has a little bit of writing on the bottom of it, but not much. It
okay,
has
a little bit
maybe
of
4 words is all, like something like that.
okay, yeah, no. So as long as you can utilize those you're going to have to kind of try to just block the bottom of the card so you're not focused on the words. Remember, words have power.
Okay.
So words will influence what you're picking up on intuitively because we can't help it.
Mm.
So if you're going to use those cards and they have 4 words at the bottom, just put your hand over the card and then read it over the writing and then read that part. Okay. So that, yes, if you're connected to your deck and you love them, then that's the important part. So, all right. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you guys for joining me today. I know our tiny little class today, but everybody will be watching this later. So hello to everybody that's watching this later. Glad that you were also able to join afterwards, and we will see you next week.